my channel. My name is Mouse. Sometimes Andy and I talk about books and book-related things, and I do not normally film from this part of my room, much less standing up. But I have learned that the lighting at 10:30 in the morning is atrocious in my room. By that I mean it's beautiful and wonderful, but not when you're trying to film. Today is going to be my January wrap-up. I am, as always, going to be very transparent in the fact that it is the 28th? Nope, it's the 29th of January, so I still have 2 days left of January. I don't plan on finishing a ton of books, but I also didn't plan to read this many books to begin with. So, let's get this show on the road. I'm going to start with the general stats for our books. So we've got 36 books read, 12,000 and some pages read, 260 hours listened, and a 4.1 average rating for all of the books. I am using the call pile rating method, so those ratings are actually much more accurate and reflective of how I felt about the books rather than just like, the vibes were good, 5 stars. We're not doing that anymore this year. I read 9 queer-focused books, 9 fantasy, 7 sci-fi, 7 horror, 5 thriller, 4 graphic, 3 dystopian, and 1 contemporary novel. We have 21 audiobooks, 9 physical books, and 8 ebooks. I have access to quite a lot of audiobooks because of having access to my dad's audiobook library and then the actual library, and I had a lot of things kind of backlogged, and so for the next couple of months I'm going to be trying to knock those out. So if you see that my audiobook number is much more wild than it normally is, that's going to be why. I read 21 young adult books, 14 adult books, and 3 middle grade. I read from 30 cisgendered authors, 22 white authors, 14 people of color authors, 8 genderqueer authors, 6 disabled authors, and 4 neurodiverse authors. I think when it comes to diversity, I did an okay job. Could have done better, but I think tracking the diversity in the way that I'm doing now is interesting and works well for the way that my brain works, and so I'm enjoying it. I like that I just have check marks instead of like having to pick. The way that I had it laid out before, I could only pick like a couple of things, and it was really hard to determine the different ways that authors were diverse, because sure, you could be a white author, but you could be genderqueer, and you could be disabled, and you could be neurodiverse, so I would still class you as a little bit of a diverse author. So that's kind of the way that things are changing with the way that I review those things, and I'm really enjoying the way that it looks. It's very aesthetically pleasing to me. I did basically just take a bunch of different people's reading spreadsheets off of YouTube and then just merged them and finagled them into being something that worked really well for me, and I'm kind of enjoying the way that... How many times am I going to say I'm enjoying it? Sorry. But I am appreciating the way that it all kind of comes together, and it makes this type of video much easier for me. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the worst books I read in January, and that is going to be the entire Matched Trilogy series. I think I rated all of them 2 stars. I will talk about this a little bit more in the Matched reread video, which comes out in March. Basically, our characters were romance-focused instead of anything else focused, and romance-motivated, and I can't stand that. I hate anything and anyone that is romance-motivated. I think they need therapy. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like that's just not a good enough reason to do most things. I think you need to actually weigh the pros and cons before joining a rebellion you don't know anything about. But it is a young adult dystopian that came out around 2010, so the behavior is not quite that unusual. But still, very frustrating. Very frustrating to read. I wanted to bang my head out on the desk more than once. I do have a live tweet thread, just like I did for the selection series, and it was just downright painful. But I did it, and next month I'm going to be reading a middle grade series, so I'm hoping that it's a bit better and doesn't become my worst book of the month. For the top books that I read this month, I first want to say thanks to everybody who gave me your feedback on my previous wrap-ups and told me like what you would like to see. So I'm going to give you the top 5 books out of all 36 books that I read this month, and I will also give you the top arc, which will be a totally separate thing. So the top 5 books are The Obelisk Gate and Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the final 2 books in the Broken Earth trilogy. It is a fantasy sci-fi series that I am in love with. It is an adult series, so if you're one of my younger readers, you maybe shouldn't read it, but readers, one of my younger viewers, you maybe shouldn't read it, but I recommend it to anyone and everyone. It's a little bit confusing though, and I will say it takes a little bit of brain power, so if you are an audiobook listener, I 100% recommend doing so when you can listen 100%, when you are not distracted. And I had to start this book off in 1.5 times speed before I could understand what was going on. So I just want to clarify that it is a little confusing because of the way that it switches points of view, including how those points of view are written. So just something to consider, but I found them absolutely amazing books, and I understand why they have all of the awards that they do have. The next book is going to be Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. Essentially, this book is about how there are multiple universes, and you can go and travel to those universes, but only if the person who already lives in that universe is dead. And our main character is dead on almost all of the planets because turns out that while life has a kind of domino effect and that kind of thing, the scientists and the rich are taking advantage of the people who live in poverty, and they're more likely to be dead on all other planets, and she happens to be more likely than anyone else. This book does have queer representation and also talks a lot about black people and how they often are discriminated against, and how society creates a cyclical system of poverty and how it's very hard to get out of it. And I found that really interesting because it's not our world, but it still had those interesting social commentary bits in this fantasy sci-fi, and I really enjoyed that. The next book is They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, which I think might actually be my new comfort read, which says a lot about me, and you'll find out in a second why. In They Never Learn, our main character, Scarlett, basically is a queer lady, and she kills predators. She kills them. She says, "No more for you," as punishment for being predators. And I mean, I loved this book. I was listening to it very chill every night on 1 time speed, very unusual for me. And then I ended up just finishing the entire thing after being at like 25%. I ended up just sitting down and finishing the entire thing in one go because I started to get more and more obsessed. When it comes to a thriller, there is multiple twists, and it's kind of surprising because you already know who the killer is. So, you know, what else is there to write about? But it's actually just a fantastic book and told from the quote-unquote villain's point of view, but is she really a villain, and should she be considered a villain? And I just really enjoyed the writing and the way that everything kind of came to be at the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but it is one of my new favorites and probably a comfort listen for me, which says a lot. But I think the lesbians should, not lesbians, I believe she's bisexual, they should get to kill predators. I think they should get to. The next book is going to be Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. This is a horror novella, and in this horror novella, basically, the KKK are a mix of racist white people and monsters from the underworld, or from the other world, demons, terrifying demons. And in it, our main characters have the sight, and they hunt the KKK, basically. They hunt the Klansmen. And it is this interesting conversation of, not conversation, it's just this interesting book in which, like, there's demons and ghosts and spirit guides, and it just was really amazing. It was a very quick listen. I think the audiobook's maybe only 3 or 4 hours long, and that's on 1 time speed. And so I've been recommending it to any horror readers. If you like, if you are squeamish around body horror or that kind of thing, or again, blatant racism, I would not recommend this book for you. However, if you like body horror, I'm not going to say if you like blatant racism, nobody likes blatant racism, but if you like body horror, this might be the book for you. If you like listening to books that make you genuinely uncomfortable because you have to reflect upon the fact that, like, these are your ancestors that are the racist white people, this is also a good one that puts it into kind of a context that you wouldn't expect, I guess. For the best arc that I read this month, that's going to be Revenge of the Sluts by Natalie Walton. Now, I only rated this 4 stars, but I found it kind of interesting because the author mixes social commentary with mystery. It is a mystery thriller, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's all that shocking on the whodunit side of things, but it does open up a genuine conversation about how we treat teen girls and their sexuality, as well as how we treat them when things like revenge porn occurs. Now, I will give a trigger warning for non-consensual pornography sharing. It was a really fascinating book, and my full review just came out today. this video is gonna come out on Tuesday, but the review is up on my blog, and I actually talk about some personal experiences in which my school actually covered up a bunch of girls' nudes getting shared, and completely covered it up to the point where I tried to Google that information for my review to just correspond with it, and there was no news articles. I had to text my sister and go, hey, did this really happen? And she was like, oh yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. And the book even addresses the fact that most people who were not directly involved in the events are likely to forget the events even happened, and that really made me like, heck. So it's not for the light of heart, and it is a very serious book that tackles very serious conversations, but I enjoyed it a lot, and it was one of the best ARCs that I've read this month, so I might actually even purchase it. And I don't super love Wattpad books, so. Apologies again for the lighting changing. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I am filming in my room at 10 a.m., now 11 a.m., so I don't have any control over that, and normally I film in the dark, so I'm doing my best. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to read any of those books, let me know and we can talk about them. I would love to have a conversation more about the books, and if you have read them and want to talk about them, let me know. Again, would love to have a conversation. If there's any of those books that are super appealing, just comment down below and we can talk about it. Like I said, I'm gonna go. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Turn the notifications on. If you're new here and you liked this, subscriptions are great. If you're old here, welcome back, and thanks for continuing to support me while I do chaos. I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to drink your water and take care of yourselves. Maybe go on a walk if you can. If you can't go on a walk, just do some deep breathing stuff, you know. Alright, I'm gonna go. Okay, thanks, bye.